What up, world? It's your boy Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector. Feliz Año Nueve, right? Because I call myself El Nino the kid, but Feliz Año Nueve. Happy New Year, gang. It's the ninth. It's the ninth of January. I mean, a couple things we got to point out. I don't know when you're supposed to stop saying Happy New Year, but you all haven't heard my voice in a few weeks, so I get to tell you all Happy New Year. I think we're right at that edge of saying it. I don't know, but I actually celebrated my 48th birthday the other day, January 6th. So that's a thing too. So happy birthday to me. I might even sing to myself later on. I did bring a cake to the office, and I was like, I'm bringing an ice cream cake. We're going to build a new culture here at the office, and we're all going to have cake for our birthdays. So I bought an ice cream cake. Shout out to Holiday Farms. You can pick up a Carvel cake for $15.99. Just shouting out Holiday Farms in case anybody was wondering. Where am I? I am not in my attic. Although the song's going to tell you later on, join me in the attic, but I'm not in the attic. From the attic to the office, the worldwide headquarters of Vanguard Benefits. You know, that's our company. And why Vanguard Benefits? Because employees matter. Where was I this week? Well, I'm going to tell you just yesterday where I was. Yesterday, I shot out to Queens, shout out to Jamaica, Queens, where I was actually at the offices of one of our clients. By the way, maybe I didn't say, the show's Philanthropy and Focus. Your boy's the nonprofit sector connector. We do a bunch of things on the show, but we help nonprofits tell their story and amplify their message. That's one of the most important things, or two of the most important things we do on the show. Yesterday morning, Venture House, Queens Chamber of Commerce, we were doing an assessment for what nonprofits need. So it was a needs assessment. So it was about 24 nonprofit leaders sitting around, networking, connecting, and doing some brainstorming, which was super fun. And it's always great. Shout out to Dr. Larry Grubler. Shout out from TSI&Y, Transitional Services for New York, who is the co-chair of that committee with my friend Christine Deska from Nonprofit Sector Strategies, and Sharia Hussein, who runs all the committees at the Queens Chamber of Commerce, and the whole team at Venture House for hosting us. But that was where I started my day in Queens. Then started a journey out to Long Island, where I was heading out to Wisconsin, and I got on a call with Paul Howard from Satel Institute and Jeffrey Abramowitz, the CEO of the PD Green program, to talk about PD Green and the great work they're doing nationally as it relates to educating folks incarcerated or formerly incarcerated. I'm like literally on the expressway. Like I pulled over and took that meeting on the LIE on my way out to Pause of War because I had an awesome meeting with the folks at Pause of War yesterday. That's a day in the life of Tommy D, you know, the director of strategic alliances over at Vanguard, but also the one and only nonprofit sector connector. I love that little extra pause. I think the pause is going to be even more elongated in 2026. Tracy Mitchell is here. I called Tracy Mitchell a couple weeks ago and I was like, Tracy Mitchell, I'm Tommy D. And I said, sometimes that means some things. It depends on the room I'm in. But when I'm in my office, I think it means a lot. So I was like, Tracy, here's the deal. I've been on the committee for the Long Island Imagine Awards for, I don't know, close to 10 years. Vanguard Benefits sponsors the Rising Star Award. And I was like, I got to tell you something, man. I said, the one category that I get to read all the applications, and the one category that I want to become more familiar with and really more well read on, if you will, or more well experienced is the arts and culture category, right? I love music. I love the arts. I'm on the board of Spirit of Huntington Arts Center. I said, but I don't really. I said, when I get to this category every year to read these applications, it is not where I excel. So I said, I am challenging myself. When I called you, I said, I'm challenging myself to, especially shout out to my friend Hillary Needle, who is our event planner for the Long Island Imagine Awards and the New York City Imagine Awards. And I know she digs this category, arts and culture. And I'm like, I want to challenge myself to be more aware of it. So long short, I called you up. Then subsequently, your organization, the Bay Street Theater, became a semi-finalist in the Long Island Imagine Awards for this year. So shout out to that. Super exciting, right? And just yesterday, I was telling you that I'm going to be the one to come out and do your interview. So, you know, a little bit of like home cooking, as I like to say. I've said a lot. Tracy Mitchell, good morning. What's going on? How you doing?
I'm doing well. It's that boy. You are good, sir. It's like the trifecta of, meet and greet and getting to know each other. I'm well, thank you. I'm in my office here at the Bay Street Theater in Sag Harbor, Long Island.
I'm digging the whole background, man. You got a pretty cool office. I love, I mean, like, you know, for you all that are not like watching but are only listening, you have like a window that looks like, I don't think it looks outside. Does it go out to
No,
the
that looks into the theater. So I actually overlook the stage, some of the seating. Of course, I need to close the curtain when something's actually on, but I can watch rehearsals. There is no soundproofing, sadly. because while I love listening to the rehearsals of the professionals and for, but hearing the kids rehearse maybe for a week long all day and I can't, it doesn't matter what I'm doing, they're singing loud. And I'll
So
be on
you're
a
trying to
meeting,
run a meeting? You're
I'll
trying
be
to do
on a
like
meeting on a phone call and they'll be like, what's that in your background? I'm like, well, we are in the world of theater and entertainment.
I love that. And I think that's, listen, it's probably a little distracting. And I know from distracting, shout out to all my other neurodiverse people, hashtag ADHD, but I know a little bit about it, but I know a little bit about that. But I would just be like, so that's so cool. But I think if you're on with a donor, if you're on with one of your stakeholders, and what they're hearing in the background is the work your
Correct.
organization does,
Yep.
shoot, man, what's cooler than that? Like, and now again, it is distracting, but at the same time, it's like that's what we do here. So I have two boys, two girls. My younger daughter is a performer, and she's in I think it's like Beetlejuice Junior right now.
Right.
So she's, but it's funny because you can hear, so she's 13, so you can hear like the quote unquote drama, and I don't mean the
Mhm.
actual drama on
Right.
stage, but the drama behind them, who's saying this about who, and who's
Yep.
been in the program longer, and it's like very, it's extra. That's human beings though, man. We are an interesting species. I say that for sure.
I always say around here, it doesn't even have to be with kids. It's with adults too. It's let's keep the drama on the stage, folks.
Oh my God, let's keep the drama on the stage. I'm
Yeah.
totally going to borrow that. My sister says you have to just borrow it twice and then it's yours. So I'll give you credit
Ah,
for the first few times. Let's
okay.
keep the drama on stage and
Great.
then I can own it. Apparently it's true. My little sister told me, so I guess she knows. She's a doctor.
Good. Then it
So
must be true.
she
But
knows
you're
something.
right about going back to like being on the phone and sometimes,
Yeah.
sometimes the distraction. But what's really good is if I'm in the middle of a really tough day, it is really good to remind myself this is why we do what we do. To look out and see these kids learning things, and you never know when you're changing a life, both on the stage, the people that are working on there, and the people that are coming in to see what we're doing. You never know when you're going to touch somebody, when something is going to resonate within your community, and that's a big part of why we do what we do.
That yeah, and it's so interesting. Like we're gonna get into programs about the organization and everything, the impact and stuff like that. It's just what you said there. I think is so important. Like I find especially with music now, my musical taste is very varied. It's very wild, like all different. But from hip hop music that I grew up listening to in the '90s to obviously the Beatles. Like say obviously because I don't understand when people don't like if you don't listen to.
Like,
You don't have to
right.
love, but I think you should. But if you don't listen to the Beatles and do some work there, but the Doors to I was listening to Bach and Beethoven over the weekend, man, and
There
to
you
old
go.
reggae tunes. And there's so many things like, and I like to listen sometimes, even like, there's like some Radiohead songs that I saw. I brought this up on a show recently. Like, I don't mind being melancholy sometimes. I actually dig that vibe, being kind of, trying out that emotion a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have to be like every. But then there's a group from um from South Africa called the Antwoord that does this like rap rave music, and it's wild. And if I gotta get pumped up for something, it's like
Right.
heavy stuff. I go there. So music has that, but I mean the arts. I started to tell you before we started the show today about Hamilton. I started saying I'm going to tell you a story about Hamilton. So I absolutely love that show, and I've never seen it in person. I've seen it like on Disney Plus, and I listened to it on.
Ah,
I listened to the whole like the entire show like
right.
on YouTube, right? But my wife was gonna buy tickets because it was my birthday the other day. So she was like all fired up because she was found like tickets for $600. So this is like not a joke on her. It's just because I've been in this. So she was like fired up. She was going to buy the tickets, the whole thing. She didn't realize because she was probably distracted by doing three things at the same time. But the tickets were not $600 for six tickets. They were $600
$100
a
per
piece.
piece.
So,
Yeah.
so that's 3,600. So we're not
Yeah.
going to see Hamilton, is my point. But I was saying to you, and that's what we call the show, Broadway in the Hamptons, right? So this is, there's so much art and culture here on our island, right here on Long Island. And Judy Beck was on the show from Long Island Music and Entertainment Hall of Fame a couple months ago. There's so much here, man. And actually,
Right.
they had this great Billy Joel thing going on. but I think they just have like Everybody Loves Raymond set out there, like Ray
Mhm,
Romano's thing. So
mhm.
I got to get out there to check that out. Let's get into your background though. I mean, I really
First,
want to hear.
before we leave
Yeah,
the Hamilton thing, tell
yes,
your wife, no matter what she does, you should, when you're buying Broadway tickets, little tip for your listeners and
yep.
viewers, they should always go to the official website. So it's Hamilton, you type into your Google or whatever your search, it should be Hamilton official site, and make sure you go there, because a lot of times what you're getting is the resellers that come up first and are
Right.
always going to be more expensive.
Because they're paying for that ad space, right? So
Correct.
and
Yeah.
we don't know. I mean, like recently, I was renting a car, and like I had to go pick it up, and I was trying to call them ahead of time, and I Googled Hertz, and I think I'm on with Hertz, but I'm like 10 minutes into a conversation, and I realized they wanted me to cancel the
Right.
reservation and get a new
Right.
reservation. Wait a minute, hold
Yeah.
on, that doesn't make
Yeah.
sense. Because you Google quick. So I love that. So make sure, gang, you go to the official website, not just for Hamilton, but anything you want
But
to go
any
see.
particular show, whether it's Broadway or off Broadway, you almost always will end up somewhere else if you don't type in the official site. And then the main part, you want the money to go to the people that are creating the work. You don't want it going to resellers if you can avoid it. Now, if you really want to see something and you can't get it, then you're going to have to ante up.
Oh, of course, of course. And listen, when we were younger, my nana used to take us to see shows, like every year for Christmas. It was so cool to just see. Broadway is a trip, man. And like I think as I'll just say it, as men, maybe we're not always inclined to go to see Broadway shows, gang, but like it is great seeing bro. But like one show, and then we got to get into your story, but one show, I was telling somebody about this yesterday. I've never seen it, but I watched the movie of. So I love this story, and I didn't realize it's a bit of a gory musical. But I started to watch it with my younger two, and I was like, I can't watch this with them. Sweeney Todd
Sweeney
with
Todd, I knew
with
that's where
Johnny.
you were
You knew
going.
you knew where I was going
The
with
Demon
John.
Barber, Fleet Street.
I love it. I love Mr. Todd. Great show, great show. Johnny Depp and the Tim Burton Johnny Depp one with Helena Bonham Carter.
Yeah.
I love that show. And I can watch it, but I didn't realize because I'm an adult. And I was telling a guy at the office yesterday about Sweeney Todd. I was like, I didn't realize there's some really gory stuff. I mean, what the story is a kind of
Yeah.
a messed up thing. But I started watching, and the beginning of the story is like blood draining through the streets, and my kids are like, "What's going?" And I go, "Maybe we shouldn't watch this. Let's put on Mary Poppins."
Right. Now, the real Mary Poppins, is a part of Bay Street's history. Did you know
Did
that?
I? I didn't, but I actually it's part of my history. I grew up on that. That
On
like I must have
Julie
watched it
Andrews.
100%. Yeah.
So
What is the
our
story there?
our theater, well, first of all, Julie Andrews lives here in Sag Harbor, but our theater was founded by three people. Julie Andrews' daughter, Emma Walton Hamilton, and her husband, Steve Hamilton, and the third person whose name you may not know, but it was Sybil Christopher. Sybil has since passed away, but Sybil Christopher was the original Mrs. Richard Burton.
No kidding.
So
Really?
our theater was founded by sort of theater royalty, if you will, and there's pictures here of Julie Andrews, mopping the floor the first night because the theater was, about to open 35 years ago, and she, all of a sudden it was this thunderous downpour, and the lobby flooded, and
Oh my God.
and she's still very much involved with the theater.
I had no idea. I had no idea, but that's the universe, right? Like I'm just ranting and raving about stuff, and I get to Mary Poppins, and there we go. But wow, I had
Yeah,
no clue, no clue. So we got so many of those anecdotes and stories that you're going to get into with me. I can't believe this is what I did to myself today. It is the first show back, gang. After a couple weeks off, we took the vacation then here at the network, but we're going to take a break. I can't believe that happened. So Tracy, here's part of the show. We run out of time before we run out of words. Just how it's going to go. So I
right,
promise you, even when we're done, we're not done. The show will be over, but you and I got to talk for hours in the future.
right.
So we're going to take a break. We come back. I want to jump right into your background. You've been here now at Bay Street now for 19 years. There's a whole story of your background in the arts, right? In film, in all this work. So I want to hear your story. Then we get to Bay Street. Then we get to programs. Then we always get to what do you need, man? How can Tommy D help? How can the network help? How can our world help? And that's what it's all about. How's that sound for a show?
Sounds good to me.
All right,
Perfect.
let's do it. We'll be right back. The one and only El Nino, the kid, Tommy D, Philanthropy in Focus. Right back.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays, 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
Write that, put a line through it, join Tommy in the office. Bay Street Theater, go to baystreet.org, baystreet.org. I realized as I was sharing the screen, I shared the wrong theater. Baystreet.org for the Bay Street Theater. I got a request. What does it say on your mug, Tommy D? It says, I love taking long, leisurely walks down the aisles of TJ Maxx. I am a Maxxinista. If you know, you know, and if you don't know, well, let me tell you. TJ Maxx is a cool store. You can get really good stuff. Don't go there expecting something specific, but you'll go there and find some treats. And the bad thing about it is if you're like me, you end up buying a lot of things you don't need, especially mugs. Like there's another mug over here on my desk. This one with the mushrooms on it. I like this one. I bought that at TJ Maxx. I like cool coffee mugs and they're only $4.99. They should be a sponsor of the show. Tracy Mitchell, let's get into it. So you have this really cool story to tell about your background, and then we'll talk about how you get to the role you're in as executive director at Bay Street Theater. Let's talk about you and your background. Please tell me.
Sure. I started people should know I was an artist as a kid. I was a child singer. I was in a group that traveled, et cetera, et cetera. I always called it like a young up with people, but it wasn't a cult. For your listeners, they'll understand. I ended up getting into the world of television and film. I was a producer, and so I started off in commercials, went to long format, and eventually ended up in feature films and then special effects. I did some documentary work as well, and have always worked with really interesting people, fascinating stars, as well as people that you might not have heard of. And I ended with special effects when producing Back to the Future, The Ride for Universal Studios in IMAX. So it was the large format, 70 millimeter, and it was one of the first of its kind. And it was a time when we were learning how to program the movement of flight simulators for entertainment purposes with film. So it was a really monumental time back in the late 80s that took place.
Is it so? First of all, one of my favorite movies, Back to the Future. Huge Michael J. Fox. Love Michael J. Fox. Alex P. Keaton. You know, Family Ties. Love that whole thing. You know, and because that was just a great show because you got his parents who are these hippies and like he's like this young Republican. It was such a trip, man.
Right.
That was like I think that was when we were more civil to people who had a different ideas. All right, Tommy, get back to business. But so I do love that movie, but my problem with those kind of rides is I get like motion sickness, man.
So do I.
So could you go on there or what?
So the funny thing is we had in our we took an old textile factory in Massachusetts, Western Massachusetts, and we created a studio out of it. And we actually put in a flight simulator. And because I do get sick looking at a rocking chair, they literally used me as kind of the canary in the coal mine. So if Tracy could take it, they knew it was okay for the masses. So
I can't even tell you, dude, it kills me, Tracy, because like raising 4 kids, like my wife and I, it's kind of sucks for her because she likes like those kind
you
of rides.
like
Like
the
I like
rides?
something,
Okay.
yeah, but like I like something that's gonna go fast. But if it's gonna make me upside down or dizzy, we got problems.
Yeah.
And to the point where, like, let's say you and I were gonna go out, let's have coffee, right? You're like, Tommy D, why don't we take one car? I'd be like, Tracy, you can't drive. And
Yeah,
maybe you would
right.
say the same thing as
I'm
I'm
the exact same way. I
I
gotta
can't
drive.
have like it kills my wife because like if we're going out the 6 of us, I must drive, not for control, just
Yep.
for the fact that I don't want to get nauseous. Like
Yep.
it's crazy. So I always bow out. Like we go to Hershey a couple of times, like try to go every year. And there's like this one stupid ride, like it's nothing. It's like a nothing ride. But like you just go like you're on a little cart and it goes to the left and it goes to the right and you have these like laser guns that you're trying to shoot M&Ms or Reese's Pieces or something like that. It's like and I say to my kids, I can't. And it's like not scary. I just
No,
don't want
I get
to
it.
ruin the rest of my day like being nauseous now. Like that's no fun. So
Yep.
anyway,
I hear you.
so that's Universal. So you say that was kind of your last
That was
thing?
my sort of foray. Well, and then I did a documentary, a 2-hour primetime special for ABC called About Us, The Dignity of Children. And Oprah was my host, and we got nominated for 2 primetime Emmy nominations, which was cool. But that was a time where we began to see that the networks were no longer going to spend the kind of money on long format programs. I mean, we used to spend 3 or 4 years creating, a 2-hour special, or, it depends on what it
Why
is.
was
But
that changing? What was the change there? Because I
well,
was going to ask you about like Netflix and
because we
streaming and
went
all
from
that.
film, I'm dating myself now, I'm a little
Yeah.
older than you, Tommy, but we went from film to tape, and
Okay.
it was a whole new ball game, and then once that happened, the costs came down. Well, we actually went from 35 millimeter to 16 millimeter, then to tape. And this was all pre-digital, right? So once that happened, of course, time periods got shorter, and also the business changed. The advent of cable and all that sort of stuff changed everything. So, and it's for the good, because it takes, as we all know, we're all filmmakers now, right? We all have our phones,
Oh, listen,
and
so true. You just do it. And I say, like, I do 4 different shows. Like, I'll tell you about them later, or I'll tell everybody about them now. Hashtag Ending the Stigma Together. We do in the studio, North Shore TV. Talk about ending the stigma around serious and persistent mental illness and what Tommy D says, general mental health. I do a show called Long Island Changemakers, and then we do a show called The Professionals and Animal Lovers Show. And gang, the barrier to entry is not very high. And that
right.
stuff is more like organized my shows, right? What I'm talking, but you and I could I'm gonna come to Bay Street Theater, I'm gonna turn my, iPhone around, I'm gonna shoot some videos. Like that's how real this is, right? So it's a
Exactly.
game changer.
Yeah.
Did you ever imagine that? Like being somebody who's been in this work for
Not in a million years. Like, back in the day when we were shooting feature films, it would take, well, first of all, you weren't at a computer back then, you were doing things on paper and all that sort of stuff. So, but, once we got into special effects, that was a whole different world. Once we got into IMAX, 70 millimeter stuff and curved screen
that?
domes. And, it was really, I loved seeing the changeover as we went through the years. And it was great.
It's awesome. I want to ask you this. So I don't know if it would I can't tell if I would be starstruck anymore. Like I used to think when I was younger that there's people I would meet and I'd be like, oh my God. So like I'll give you an example. So my brother used to go to this vacation spot and on the treadmill next to him, there's only ever been 4 of them in the history of the world. And one of them was on the treadmill next to him, and his name is Sir Paul McCartney. And I was like, that might be the one where I would humming, not be able to speak, right? It
Right.
turns out they actually were at they were at dinner a couple of tables away from each other in this same place, right? Later on that week. Is there or was there anybody for you that, like, when you met them? I mean, you just mentioned Oprah. That's a pretty big one. That's a pretty big name. Now, did you get to interact with folks? I mean, where, like, on a social level?
Sometimes I do beyond just the shoot, and sometimes, and sometimes I end up having a nice friendship with them.
Relationship. Sure. Yeah.
There are people that I've worked with here at Bay Street even that I see many times.
Right.
Julie Andrews is one of them, and she
I
was,
would say if she's a
I'm
local.
a kid from a small town in Ohio. I used
Okay.
to play her. She was my first role in my third grade version of Mary Poppins, that kind of stuff. So I don't get starstruck, but there are people that when I meet them, it's someone that I so admire for their talent. And when they're really nice people on top of it, like Stephen Schwartz, he wrote little things like Pippin, Wicked, Godspell, and just the talent in his mind that he puts out into the world. I mean, think about all those, even just those 3 shows and the number of songs that go into that. I mean, Godspell alone has probably 12 hits that, you can sing off the top of your head if you've seen the show. So it's, that to me is the part that is so exciting when you meet somebody. It's like, where does all that talent just come from?
So awesome.
Yeah.
It's so cool. Like, I wonder, like, if, I talk a lot about, like, the ripple effect and things like that. And, how I believe that ripple effect is really infinite because when we connect with people, things happen. But, like you mentioned, Stephen Schwartz, like, people around the world who'll never meet him, who'll never have any connection, are impacted by the work these people are doing. And I mentioned earlier the Beatles, and I mentioned how, music in general can change our mood. And I used to laugh because the Tasmanian Devil cartoon, it used to say, like, Taz would be losing his mind, and then it'd be like, music soothes the savage beast. And it would be, they play some tunes, and all of a sudden Taz is chilling out. But it is music, and all art for that matter, but music impacts us, man. And like I say, people that you'll never interact with the creator, but it all came from the creator's mind. And I've even heard, like, a lot of this stuff, and I guess this goes to, like, where somebody's belief set is, religion or spirituality or whatever, but, like, things, like, come to us, like, a lot of folks, and I'm not going to speak for anybody, but I've heard, like through meditation, through connection, through the universe, through God, whatever, some kind of divinity. And I believe we all have divinity inside of us, and that's a whole nother story. But that there's that connection, and all that comes through us, and we become, like, I don't know, the vessel for bringing that across. Like, have you heard some of that? What do you think?
Absolutely. I do think that, certain people, well, I'll just say this, the talents, even within the gene pool, may vary, right? So I mentioned Stephen Schwartz. Well, Scott Schwartz is my partner here at Bay Street Theater, his son. So Scott is an incredible director, and he's our artistic director as well. So, it's a wonderful, incredible privilege for me, to be working with these top families, and to start with someone like, the people that I mentioned as our founders, and then go on to the current most profound, I think, along with Lin-Manuel Miranda. You have the next generation of theater makers, and it is theater royalty. It's the American theater royalty.
I love that. And I got to say something too. We're going to take a break real quick, and then we're going to come back. We're going to really get into Bay Street Theater and what goes on there, and the history, and really the programming. I can't wait. I mean, I can wait because I have to wait, but I'm coming out to see a show, like, super, like, as soon as we can. The thing, you and I are going to do a tour. We're going to do a whole thing. But it was, I've totally lost my train of thought, but it'll come back to me. But it's just like, I know what it was. I was watching a YouTube. I love YouTube, by the way. I was watching a YouTube video about the author of the actual Hamilton book, when Lin-Manuel Miranda reached out to him and said, "Look, I read your book. I'm just, like, jazzed, and I'm going to make a rap show. Like, I think the term he used was like hip hop, and this guy's an older man, and he didn't know from hip hop, and it was just very, very funny to like hear that. And again, you wrote this book in this, talking about a historical book. It's set in an era 250 years ago, whatever, and like this young guy comes up to you and is going to say like, we're going to make this into a hip hop show. I mean, first of all, I love the show. We sing it at my house all the time. We talk about great songs. It is so awesome.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's
But
just
would
so.
you have invested in that idea? Probably not.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, look, I can't tell you because I only know that it was definitely a winner. Now we know that, right?
Right.
But like it's what and how much history did it bring to, you know, different like you think about it. So I have 4 kids who are in school, and sometimes they go, I don't want to go to school, or they're not enthusiastic about certain things, but like for that now I know there's talk that there's some inaccuracies and things that are not exactly right on in the show, whatever, little poetic license, right? Fair enough. But like just the fact that I mean, I personally would and have gone and done some research because I've listened to the show
Right.
so many times. So
Right.
I want to go check out what is right on and what's not. So that to me is just another foray into let me go learn, man. And we can learn through these vehicles and if that exposes somebody to something, and we'll talk about literature live in a minute when we come back, because like that exposure point for people, that's a game changer. So arts and culture is super important. Gang, we're going to take a break. Philanthropy and Focus. Tracy Mitchell, executive director of the Bay Street Theater, is here. I'm out of breath. Back.
Misalignment within your sales team or with the client stalls deals and creates unnecessary friction for you and the client, resulting in up to 37% lower win rate. If you're in pre-sales, sales management, or sales enablement, and you'd like to increase revenues, win rate, margins, client satisfaction, and stay competitive, this show is for you. Hi, I'm Art Fromm, host of the Making Seamless Sales Show. Please join me live Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
Have you ever wondered what truly lies beneath the calm? I'm Jacinta Yang. Join me every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time on Talk Radio NYC as we explore healing, self-discovery, and a space where science meets spirits to help you find peace in a busy world. Take a deep breath and tune in to Beneath the Calm, where every conversations guide you back to the calm within.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
Right. Join me in the attic, but I'm not going to be there. So get in the car, drive 12 miles from the attic, and join me at my office. All right, let's go. That's actually Uncle Brendan Levy, my Uncle Brendan Levy, VP of Business Development at the Queens Chamber of Commerce, lead singer of Damaged Goods, who was singing that tune. It was, as I always say, it was a Lennon and McCartney type of thing. We wrote the lyrics together, but he was the one who laid it down and sang or sung the song. He singed it. I'm not sure if it was sang or sung, but he had done it in the past. So that's what I'm trying to say to you all. And it might be time to rehash that song. I've been saying it. I think it needs a reggae vibe to it. And we got to mention that Tommy's not always in the attic anymore. They let me out. I'm on a work release program. They released me from the attic so I can go to work. And I was showing this really cool on the website, baystreet.org, this virtual tour. By the way, I mean, this is not a big theater. Like, you are right on top of the show.
Yeah, that's why we say it's intimate, close, and really you are in the show. It's 299 seats. And we put you were showing the set of My Fair Lady, I believe.
Yes.
And we do some incredible things in a small space.
It is so cool. Yeah. Again, gang, website, baystreet.org, baystreet.org. So how many shows I want to answer that first. Like, how many shows a year are put on? And when I say that, let me just be like real clear, like proper like shows, like not school related stuff, because we'll get into that. But
Mhm.
like, do we do 4 a year, 3 a year? What's that look like?
So, first of all, let me be clear, Bay Street's open year round.
Hmm.
So, we are first and foremost a professional regional theater, which means we use all of the same folks that are on Broadway, all the same design teams, lighting, costume, all of that. And to specifically answer your question, our main stage, when we do the primary producing of either new shows or reimagining of classics or musicals, those are done in the summertime. So usually there's 3 or 4 shows, and they run 8 shows a week. So 8 performances a week of that show for either 3, 4, or 5 weeks. Once in a while, there'll be a 1 week run of something if it's a special, like with Mike Birbiglia or something like that. And then the rest of the time, we also have theater throughout the year. We have education, we have music performances, comedy, training, camps, etc. So it's busy here year round.
That. So if you say education, I want to get into the education of our youth and things like that. But
Mhm.
I've been really there's this school in Forest Hills, and I don't even know them, but it's called Fohi Improv. So like as in Forest Hill,
Mhm.
FOHI, Queens. So we want to go take some improv classes. So I'm
We
thinking,
have them.
so good. So let's go there right now, because I've been thinking about it. And yes, I'm a bit of a performer, no training other than just being alive for 48 years. But I think so. The only show I ever did, Tracy, and I was going to call you Tracy Mitchell because sometimes I like first and last names together. So the only show I ever did, Tracy Mitchell, was I was in the sixth grade play. I guess it was really a musical. It was The Wizard of Oz at the Washington Street School in Franklin Square, where I grew up. I was the Tin Man, and I thought I did very well. But it was like, for whatever reason in my life, I never did anything ever again. And it was just, I went to Chaminade High School and I didn't get involved in any sort of like plays or musicals or whatever, just because I didn't. I don't regret things in life. I try to go, well, it's all good. You didn't do it. So let's try stuff now. So my point is, I fancy myself a bit of a performer. Sometimes I just break out into song, and I don't know if it's any good because from where my ears are placed, it sounds good. So I don't know what the rest of the world thinks about it, but when I sing, I think I sing pretty well. So I don't know. Hey, guys, check it out on the internet. Let me know. Give me some feedback.
The
But
good thing, I was just going to say, the good thing is that, with the arts, that's the best thing. You can do it from the time you learn to walk till the
mm,
day you die. And
yeah,
whether it's acting or singing or improv or comedy, whatever it might be, you can
yes,
always do it.
love that. And as long as you can get up and speak and move around, you can do stuff. I love that. And you don't even have to get up and you just, as long
No.
as you got breath in your lungs, man, you can do stuff. It's funny. Like I'll tell you this one quick story. Like I tell you about, like, I don't know if this is the right word, eclectic but varied interest of my musical interest. Dude, I was out we were flying out to Hawaii when I worked with ADP many years ago for President's Club. We stayed over for 2 days in California, and we drove out to the desert to the place, I don't even know if it's around anymore. It was called Pala Casino, Pala.
Uh,
Tony Bennett was performing outside. Now I'm like, at the time, like 25 years, 26 years old, right?
huh?
And my girlfriend, who's now my wife, and I and a couple of the couples were hanging out there, and we're dancing like it's outside at this resort. It was so freaking cool. I mean, the crooners, man, like these guys, like the Rat Pack, like Sinatra and the
Yep.
Dino
I
and
had a
Sammy
dog
Davis.
named Sinatra. That's how
Did
much I
you?
love that music. Yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, like, that big band era, where Frank's got the whole band behind him and he's
Yep.
being all cute with the people, and like got some swag. I love all that stuff,
If you love that, your wife can't take you to Hamilton, then go see Just in Time, starring Jonathan Groff, that's on Broadway right now. He'll be in it until like mid-March, and
I'll have to
see
check
it
that
with
out.
him. Um, but It's that kind of music and that kind
I
of
love that.
score.
I love that. You know, it was a great show, by the way, too. And we got to get back to your story. But what was a great show was when I first saw Jersey Boys. I absolutely loved that
Yeah.
show. That was, and
Yeah.
that was a hard ticket to get. Like so much was a hard ticket to get that I went with my siblings and my parents. My wife was there, so I'm guessing it was like an era of like maybe my brother had a girl there. I don't remember who was with who at the time, but we were in the front row, like front row. Now that sounds like a good thing. In some cities, not always a great thing at Broadway because you're like
Right.
staring up. So it wasn't the best, but it was just such a great show to see, man. So
Everyone loves that show.
do you have, can you say just like in your experience in whether it be Bay Street or just all the things like this, I'm gonna use this word, which is like a crazy word to use, but do you have like a favorite show or something that, and I have a second follow-up question to that, which you could think about, which is, do you remember the first concert you ever went to? So you pick which one you want, like favorite or first, and you can do both, but it's up to
Um, I do not remember the very first concert, but I do know that the way I got started in that whole realm of singing was that I just heard all of these classic albums, Oklahoma, Camelot, Carousel, and they used to be on our stereo, and there would be a stack of 8 records, right? And they would drop down one at a time, and you'd hear the whole album and then another one. And we used to play those over and over because my parents weren't wealthy, didn't have a lot of albums. You'd heard the same shows, you knew every word to every show. So those are some of the ones that stick in my head as the first things that I heard. And I think that plays a huge part in what you end up really liking or not liking. It doesn't mean you stay only in that genre, but because of that and because of the songs of Sinatra in the 1950s, those kinds of things that they also played, I think that was at the core of what I first learned and heard and fell in love with, and then kind of branched out. Like you, I mean, I like all different kinds of music, and I studied classical as well as, Broadway.
yeah.
But yeah, and in terms of favorite shows, people ask me that, and it's very difficult. It's like favorite shows on Broadway right now, in terms of musicals would be Just in Time, it would be Hamilton, it would be Wicked, it would be, so and I've seen the classics, for kids, Lion King, it depends on what you're looking for, right? Who you're bringing to the theater, what they've seen before, or whether you're looking for a straight play or drama, so there's a lot to pick from. In terms of at Bay Street, we've done versions of Evita, Ragtime. And by the way, Ragtime, I think, is one of my favorite shows because the music is beautiful. Stephen Flaherty and Lynn Ahrens wrote it. And they used to live here in Sag Harbor. They used to be very involved in the theater when they were here. And so it holds a deep place in my heart. I think it tells an amazing story that is so prescient right now. So that's another thing. It's like, what time,
How is this like how's this relating to things that are going on in life? So like that's where, because that resonates, right? Art and life and art, right? So
yeah.
that's where I love that. So I got to check out Ragtime now, which I've never seen.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's at
I mean,
Lincoln Center right now, and it's
oh, it is. All right.
absolutely spectacular. And I think that for me, the guy that is the lead in it right now is one of the most, Josh Henry. I think he's one of the most talented people on Broadway right now. He just is.
Take a quick break. When we come back, I really want to get into programming and what goes on at Bay Street, what that experience feels like, as it relates to youth and really getting this in front of so many young people and all the programming. We'll get into that and what's upcoming and things like that. Believe it or not, this show goes so fast. My first concert, since I know people are wondering, Debbie Gibson, City Music. Pretty sure it was 84 or 85. I was born in 78. My Uncle Buddy got tickets and took my 2 cousins, my cousin Vinny, my cousin Mickey, and me, and we went to see Debbie Gibson. Now goes by Deborah, I believe, but she used to be called Little Debbie Gibson. All right, we'll be right back. She's from Long Island, by the way, gang. Right back. Philanthropy and Focus.
On Frank About Health, we're not just talking healthcare. We're managing disruption and innovation. Over the last 4 years, I've taken you from epilepsy and COVID to mental health, caregiving, and now the front lines of healthcare transformation. Stay tuned for a healthier future as we bring on the innovators, professionals, storytellers, and advocates who show you how to own your healthcare every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a purpose-driven individual looking for deeper healing, clarity, and growth? Welcome to the Expansion Room, a transformative space for purpose-driven individuals. I'm Siobhan Larice, host, licensed therapist, and coach. Join me every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
Some of you already know that what I want to be when I grow up is a game show host. So this is the lightning round. So I always wanted to be a game show host. And sometimes in my life, I feel like I am a game show host, but I actually have this idea for a game show. It doesn't really have a title, but it's like, it's kind of like that show Double Dare that used to be on Nickelodeon, except instead of kids or families, it's nonprofit leaders. So you take like a team of like 3 executive directors from a nonprofit against another, you pit them against another team. And then like, I'm the host and I ask them like questions, like maybe they're like fun questions or zany questions. And then they have to do like tricks. Like, I don't know what that's going to be yet, but gang, if you want to work with me on that, I would be the host. And, I need like a creative partner who would just be like, all right, Tommy, that's insane. We'll do that much. We can't do all of that, but some stuff. Anyway, it's called, it doesn't have a title. It's called the Nonprofit Showdown with Tommy D. Just made that up. Tracy Mitchell, what goes on at this organization? Maybe you could be one of the first contestants on that show.
Oh my God. I freeze up on the minute someone says like, competition. That's not my thing.
Well, we could do it. Maybe we do it on the stage. Wait, maybe that's what. Stop, Tommy. Stop asking for things. You're supposed to give first. Okay, Tracy, tell me what is going on. Talk about programming. What goes on out there, please.
So sure, we are in the middle right now of, as you can imagine, prepping for that busy summer season. While we still have things happening on the stage, there's music every weekend. Right now, it's Nancy Atlas from the East End with special guests. We also have a Motown band coming up. We have comedy. But right now, if you asked, what am I working on? I am busy booking in some fabulous singers for, like I said, we have those shows. There are 8 performances a week. The only night they get off is Monday night, which the cast gets off on Monday nights, which means that's the one night I can put in some specialty singers or specialty comedy. So that's what I'm in the middle of doing right now. We look at Broadway stars from across all kind of genres, but a lot of Broadway. So we're prepping, we're booking, we have directors, and then they have to pick their creative teams. Like as I was saying, the lighting designer, the set designer, sound, projection designers, costume, all that sort of thing. And so those folks are being hired now. The production side is busy getting 22 people in that are hired just for summer to actually run the shows, build the sets. Everything is from scratch. This isn't a place where we're taking a show that's already been done and taking it in and presenting it. No, we are producers, which means you start from scratch. You have a new idea for something that's been done before, or you're producing new work. And I'm very excited that we always produce new work, because even though it's very difficult because people don't know the title, they haven't heard of it before, right? So unless you have a star in it, it's often hard to sell it. But you're trying to find the next and allow artists to create the next great story, and what's going to work for the future. How are you going to find that next Hamilton if you don't reach out and produce new work? So that's what regional theaters are about.
Yeah.
First and
Yeah, so
foremost.
you give that opportunity to folks to kind of cut their teeth and see what they got, and if they got something there, and let them play, right?
And that's how people, you don't just come to Broadway and do a show. Oftentimes musicals take a minimum of 10 years is sort of the average of what it takes to get a musical really to Broadway. But straight shows take a lot of work too. You may come together for our New Works Festival. We actually allow artists to come together. We take all First of all, we have submissions. We had to cut it off because after the first year, we didn't have a cutoff, and within 24 hours, we had over 600 scripts.
Oh my God.
So it tells you the kind of
That's exciting, but not manageable, right? Like,
correct. Yeah. So now we only accept, I don't know what it is, 200 or something, but it's an opportunity for people that aren't represented yet by agents or anything like that. They actually can submit a script, and then the ones that are chosen, we actually provide them with a professional cast, professional director, and they get to work on the show, hear it, and they hear it out loud with an audience. That's the other part.
Because it's one thing to what my imagination was, right? It's another thing to get it on a stage, and then it's what the heck do people think of it? Like, right? Like that's a big part of it. Like, is this making
that's
any
exactly right. So we have a Q&A afterwards with the director, with the writer, and with the audience. So the audience might say, hey, I didn't understand what happened here. And then the writer realizes, oh gosh, yeah, I never explained that, or whatever.
It made sense to him or her in their mind, but like, because they know the whole thing. Like, if you know the whole story and you leave out something, it needs to be filled in. Yeah, I love that.
Or oftentimes you can see when an audience kind of dips and you lose their attention, and they're like kind of sitting back in their chair. They're not leaning in, right? So you find where the rhythm is, and how to redo that. So those are the kinds of things we do. And I was saying I was proud of the fact that we're starting our summer with a show that we discovered and worked on in our New Works Festival. So we haven't announced our season yet, but I can tell you we have 2 new works and 2 musicals that we're going to be doing. And I don't think in the history of Bay Street that we've ever done 2 musicals in the course of a summer. So that's a really big deal.
That's super exciting. Well, I think what we'll have to do is we'll have to figure out when you and I can talk about that as we get closer to the summer. When you're ready to announce, I'd be happy to come out and, do some stuff just to, help promote, because that's a big part of what I'm about. Plus, I'm on this new campaign called Tommy D Takes Some Time to Learn About the Arts. That means that working title needs some help. But like I'm on a campaign, man. I want to learn different things, gang. As long as there's breath in my lungs, as I said earlier, we can learn stuff. We can do cool stuff. Let's talk about Literature Live, because I know that's an important component of what you all are up to. I'll share it on the website while you're talking about it, but can we hit that a little bit?
Sure. Literature Live was a program that I started when within a year of arriving at Bay Street, because I saw that my own daughter was only getting less than 2 classes in the theater each year. And I said, this is not good because how do you know what you love or don't love, whether it's music or theater or painting, drawing, unless you try it, unless you are exposed to it.
Exposure, right? We got to be exposed to things.
Exactly. So my goal from that moment on was to ensure that any student in middle school or high school, the goal would be to have them see a live professional show by the time they've graduated, and that we would provide that access. So Literature Live is about taking a play or a story that's been covered in the curriculum. So we take books like Diary of Anne Frank, To Kill a Mockingbird, oh God, I'm blanking. We did this year Fahrenheit 451. So all of those kinds of shows, and create a 90-minute play from them if one
So it's
does.
connected to the work they're doing in the classroom, right? So this is like they're doing the work, they're reading it, and then this is like, let's look at it through a different lens.
Yes. So we
Yeah.
take that, we create a 90-minute version of it specifically for schools. All the school has to do is get themselves here. They just need to get that bus. We produce the show. They're coming for free. It's everything that we do is with all the same kind of professional actors, same kind of, it's full on. It's not sort of what I call, four guys in a van kind of show.
It's not watered down. This is the same quality performance
Correct.
that you're going to see
It's
on a
the
Friday night, Saturday night, right?
Yep, full set, full lighting, full costumes, full everything. They come in, the teachers will have already received a study guide. So if there are ideas they want to talk about, we will also go into the classroom ahead of time if they're interested in that. And then they come see the show. And most importantly, Tommy D, is the interaction, because there's different schools in there at the same time. And those schools are from different economic backgrounds. You'd be amazed. Well, across Long Island, what we have, and it's really incredible to hear what we've all heard watched the same show, but we take away very different things.
Sure, because we bring so much to it. We bring our own backgrounds and our own history and our own story to that, and we see it. And then, if one young person says, "Wow, but I didn't even realize that," and then what have we created? We've created connection, community, which is when you are the nonprofit sector connector, that's what the thing is all about, creating connection. I am just thrilled that we did this today. I'm thrilled to have I reached out to you, because I was like, we got to talk. This is so cool. I know there's so much more for you to tell. I'm going to just tell them the website is baystreet.org. Anything specific you need before we go that like maybe people who are listening can either help out?
Yeah, I mean, look, we take any kind of support, help, volunteers. Our volunteers are sort of the backbone of what happens. We need 10 per night. They can watch the show, etc.
Yep.
We always need them. We always need funding, because as everyone knows, less than half of your ticket price pays to run the entire place. So we need donations and investment in our work.
Sponsors, partners, all that type of stuff.
Exactly.
I think so you and I are going to do a thing. I'll probably bring a videographer, and with your permission, we'll do a tour together and we'll make something happen, because I want to continue to help telling this story. I'm jazzed to have met you. We got to leave it there because we're out of time, which is part of the show. Tracy Mitchell, so cool to meet you. Gang, the website is baystreet.org. Your boy's a nonprofit sector connector. And as I tell you all the time, this has been another In Focus production. Make it a great day, gang. Love you all. See you next Friday. Bye. Hearts.
Profits need connections to move in good directions.